Hey, assalamu alaikum, and thanks to everybody who sent through questions on my last Facebook post. Today's going to be a really fun video. I'm going to do something slightly different to my last video. I've got about 20 questions on Facebook. I'm going to put aside the digital marketing questions for today. I'll tackle that on its own. I think those sort of deserve its own and they get their own syndication. So I see the digital marketing stuff often gets shared on LinkedIn or on different Facebook groups for entrepreneurs, and that's cool. I'll keep that sort of clean. And then what I'm going to do in this video is I want to highlight some of the other questions. So I've got them up here on my laptop. I'm just going to read them out and just sort of shoot the breeze, answer them. Let's see. I'm going to try and get through all of them. So all of the non-digital marketing related questions. Yeah, let's kick it off. So first question is from Kasim Hussein, or it says Kasim Chusin Hussein, I guess. Well, Kasim Hussein. Are schools equipping kids for the evolution? Great question. So I'm totally comfortable with sharing, when I don't have an informed opinion on something. I think social media sometimes puts a lot of pressure on us to sort of have an opinion and everything. And I think the more I learn, the more comfortable I am with understanding and recognizing, the less I know. So are schools sort of equipping kids, to deal with evolution? And by this, I might assume that you're talking about the fourth industrial revolution. I was lucky 3 years ago to MC a teachers conference on that exact topic. And last year, in fact, once I figure out my editing skills and things like that, I'll drop in a picture and a video of me sort of just slightly behind President Ramaphosa at another teachers conference speaking about this. So it gives me comfort knowing that there are discussions happening. There are discussions taking place. But I really don't know enough about it to actually answer it honestly. However, if your question is, are schools teaching kids about evolution? I really think we need more evolution in school. Kids need to learn about Randy Orton, Dave Batista, Ric Flair, and one of the greatest champions of all time, Triple H. We definitely need to teach kids more about evolution. Yeah, cool. So, Cass, thank you so much for that question. Next question by Junaid Nadi Umar. Why is the Series X underperforming versus the PlayStation 5 in certain games? Yep, a little bit worrying because I think the last generation, the Xbox One X definitely outperformed the PlayStation 4 in the multi-platform games. What I like about this whole scenario though is Xbox themselves actually very transparent about it, and they're like, we don't understand why it's happening, but we want to fix it. And that for me, is so refreshing to see a company admit where there's an area where they're underperforming or they're underwhelming people, and they want to rectify it. A lot of people say that it's because the developers got the Xbox dev kits a little later than the PS5, and that makes sense. So let's wait and see. I'm just quite happy that they are making those strides to address that gap, especially because the Series X on paper is a very powerful console. Okay, next question comes from one of my faves, Nazipa Mbata. And Nazipa wants to know my reflections on parenting and how I define my role as a parent. Nazi, I'm not going to tackle that in this video because I believe, it needs its own video and I really want to think about that and articulate myself there. Here I'm just sort of shooting from the hip. So, if you allow me, I'll definitely do an entire video on that. And just my reflections on parenting sort of over the last 2 years, and what I thought it would be about and what it is and the concessions I make, but also where I'm trying really hard in other areas. And yeah, parenting, it's given me the most joy, but it's also made me sort of the most like emotionally wrecked I've ever been. And I'll talk about those areas when I do that video. Cool. Avocado, what can be cooked in an air fryer versus what should be avoided? This question I've actually got props for. So I love my air fryer. I will evangelize it to anyone who's willing to listen to me about it. And I do so much in the air fryer. What I really love about the air fryer these days, and what I've been experimenting with, is chicken. So it's such an easy thing, right? So defrost chicken, well, marinated chicken. So you can do an easy marinade, either rub or with sauces. I like putting a little bit of butter, a little bit of steakhouse sauce or barbecue or something like that there. You put it in the fridge. I've got these sort of plastic bags. So I seal them up, put it in there. And then all I do is I spray the inside of the air fryer with this boy over here. It is spray and cook olive oil. This is essential. So just give a little bit of spray in the air fryer. I chuck the chicken in and then I cook it for 15 minutes at about 180 degrees. unbelievable. It is soft, it is cooked through, you're not going to get salmonella, and it's not dried out. I think one of the challenges with an air fryer is if you cook things and you're not keeping an eye on it, it's going to dry out very quickly. So I find that 15 minutes is the sweet spot. Don't ever put on the highest setting for something like chicken. Chicken, unbelievable. But not only that, also wings as well. So often I'd like to deep fry wings, and I follow Jeremy Pang on YouTube, great guy, School of Wok, and I follow a lot of his recipes, and then he tends to deep fry it in a wok, and that's how I've learned how to make wings. But now I make it in the air fryer, and I bought this recently from the spa. Or let me see if I can get it properly. It's called Six Gun Grill Seasoning. Unbelievable. So, similar to the chicken, I get sort of wings with skin on it, chuck it in the air fryer, and then I put a bit of turkey sauce, but then I season it with this and salt and pepper beforehand. So essential, something for you to grab and think about. But really, the air fryer is so versatile, and the trick really is to experiment. So I know a few weeks ago, I was looking for something to do, something fun with it, and I have this Hawaiian stir fry, the frozen one that you get. I think it's McCain's or something. And like the Hawaiian one I really like is I like pineapple. So I just cut that up. I was air frying some chicken and some chips, and I chucked in some of that, some of the stir fry, and I left it in there for about 7 minutes. And what came out was something that was interesting because it was like crunchy but crispy, and I assume healthy, just because it's got some green stuff in there. So try that, it's fun to try the air fryer. Cool. Next question. Wasim Dawud, why was the Galactus event so underwhelming? We had to wait so damn long with nothing to do. So Wasim's talking about the latest Fortnite event, which he, Shiraz, and I stayed up for. And I say stayed up for because, I'm at that age now where I don't wait up for the sunrise anymore. That's like a really 20-year-old MJ can do that stuff. That's not me anymore. Like I like my sleep. But we stayed up. It's a big deal. We love playing Fortnite together. And it was such an underwhelming thing. It was like this big build up, and we waited months for it. And essentially, what happened is it was almost like we were watching a movie as opposed to it being like a video game where it's interactive and you feel like you're part of this experience and you're doing something great. But here it was such a passive experience, and you sort of watch this thing unfold. And I think it was underwhelming because perhaps Marvel was quite protective of their IP and they had too much control of it, or Fortnite themselves just decided to self censor, be too safe. But either way, it was a very disappointing event and not worth staying up for. Cool. Faisal Goga, beard care, an expert guide. So in my last video, my beard, my dari was nice and healthy and big. And and I managed to do that through months and months of neglect. But I went down to Dublin recently to see my folks, and I thought I was kind of getting tired of my beard. Also, Kitty wasn't liking it too much because it was sort of catching food and stuff. Yeah, yeah. Like you need a lot of time with beards. But I did buy a really cool beard oil at Clicks. I should have got it for this video. I'll grab it for the next video and I'll show it to you. Whether it works or not, whatever, But I think just the ritual of putting the beard oil sort of put me in that mood to say, I'm growing the beard. So that helped a lot. But now, as you can see, it's I've cleaned it up a little bit, just made it a little bit neater, and I'm just sort of progressively trying to make it smaller again because I'm trying to hide the fat cheeks. Put on a lot more weight recently, so I'm trying to deal with that. Uh, Khan, great guy, great colleague. He's asking me about braai, not with the air fryer. Khan, the truth is, ever since I started air frying the chicken the way I do now, I've stopped using my braai. So unless I've got a lot of people and I need to cook a lot of food at once, I'm probably not going to use the braai for a while. I do miss my onions. So you normally cut an onion in half and you use that to clean the grill. I'm a bit disgusting, so I actually eat that onion afterwards because I like it. So I miss that, but you know what? Tomorrow I'm just gonna cut an onion and chuck it in the air fryer and see if I can replicate that. Cool. Okay, a few more questions. Mariam Javeri has a great question. My view on kids and screens, social media, gaming, etc. How do I manage it? I think I'm going to touch on this when I do an episode on kids. I want to talk about moderation. I want to talk about tools. I want to talk about what parents can do, especially with video games and things like that, to to monitor what their child is consuming, but also to get involved. And I think sometimes what happens is when it comes to video games, we dismiss it. And we're so sort of strict and vigilant in terms of what our kids are consuming when it comes to movies. But we don't apply the same level of vigilance and critique to a video game. So I want to talk about that, and I want to talk about, you know, just measures you could do, how you can get involved in your kids' hobbies, and how I'm hoping to moderate it. As they said, like it's a great movie called The Infidel, that released I think in 2010, and one of the guys says everything in moderation, including moderation. So I'll unpack that in a video. Isip, let's talk about the elephant in the room. Okay, so I'm in my son's room, and that's Emily, his elephant. I got her from Macro for 199 Rand. I'm a sucker for cheap things, and 199 Rand for something that big. Oh, wonderful. He loves elephants, he loves wildlife, he loves dinosaurs. My God, he's going crazy for dinosaurs at the moment. So that's his Triceratops next to Emily. It makes a terrible noise, like so either I'm trying to break it every day, or I'm trying to at least remove the what's it the pharynx, the voice box. So I'm trying to do that. If I can't, then I'm gonna leave it at Nani and Nana's house, and then he can make noise there. Seriously, it's a terrible mess. Cool, Devon. Video games. That's my pick. I need to talk a lot more about video games. I think what I'd perhaps share right now is I'm really big into Xbox Game Pass, and it's one of the reasons why I chose to get an Xbox Series X first over the PlayStation 5. But I'll do an entire episode about that. Yeah, video games, wonderful, wonderful pastime, and I think it really sort of got into its own now with lockdown, where for a lot of people, if you're a gamer, it made lockdown just a little bit easier. That you could still game. So I love gaming. It's in my DNA, and I think I'm gonna do a lot more videos just on gaming. Cool. And then yeah, Jerome as well. So should you buy a PlayStation 4 Pro versus a PlayStation 5 that's not selling at the recommended retail price? I'm gonna tackle this, in another conversation when I talk about gaming. Suffice to say, if the PlayStation 5 in South Africa, I think it's crazily overpriced. 12,000 Rand is really difficult to justify that, especially the jump if you look at what we were paying for like the previous consoles versus this one. And like I understand the import tax, I understand the Rand's not doing well, I understand that it's a global pandemic, and this is a luxury item by all means. But just mentally to think about that price point, it's difficult to justify. It really is. And then over and above that, because of the shortage, there's so many scalpers who are selling it at multiples in terms of I've seen it at 15,000 Rand, 16,000 Rand, and that really is so much more money. And I wouldn't recommend anyone pay that much for it. If you've missed it in the first batch, you'll get it in the next batch. We're seeing that it is being released in batches. And sure, like, if you have to have it for Christmas or whatever, and you've got the money, I mean, if you could spend it on worse things. I've seen ridiculous things that go for much more money. So I mean, it's up to you at the end of the day. Personally, I would never spend so much on a console, and I wouldn't actually want to spend 12,000 Rand on the PlayStation 5. The only way I'm gonna buy it is by selling other things, so that I don't feel like I'm putting new money into it. But yeah, I'm not gonna go for the PlayStation 5 right now. I'm happy with the Xbox Series X, which ironically was the same price, but I justified that by selling a lot of stuff. In fact, I didn't put a new cent towards the Xbox. I paid for it by selling a whole lot of other stuff that I just stopped using. So yeah, that's it for me. Wow. So I thought this would really take about 7 minutes. I see we're going on to 14 minutes. But thank you so much for your questions. And just keep sending questions in. I love sharing, and I think for me this is just an exercise in sharing, talking, getting my stuff out there. So please keep engaging with the page, and let me know what you'd like me to talk about next. If it's something I'm passionate about, I can talk about for ages. So let's just have fun. And if you're here so far with me, thank you so much. Please connect with me on all my different social media platforms. It's at Concerning MJ. And yeah, I'll see you for the next video. Assalamu alaikum.